right, exciting to be here. I'm going to talk about play to innovation. I'm passionate about both of these subjects and the intersection. So most people think the opposite of play is work. I think it's boredom. Most companies at best think play means recess. Most of them think it's frivolous. Let's get back to work, take a quick break, get back to work. But I want to make it part of the process, and I believe if you make it part of the process, that increase your innovation. So I teach a class at Stanford for several years. I usually like to start with a class warm-up exercise. So I've given everyone a sheet of paper. Find that sheet of paper. I'm going to ask you to do a quick drawing. I find when I ask people to do a quick drawing, it makes them very uncomfortable because they worry they don't draw well. And they worry the person next to them is going to see their crappy drawing and then judge them. So I'm going to ask you to change your context just slightly and pretend you're back in kindergarten. And if I asked you to do a drawing in kindergarten, you'd be excited because it's drawing time. I get to create something. So see if you can get in that mindset. And I'm going to give you a drawing exercise. So pick a partner, someone next to you. They will draw a portrait of you, and you will draw a portrait of them in the next 30 seconds. Really quickly. Remember, you're back in kindergarten. It's fine. This is a safe environment. 5 seconds. Hurry up. Make some kind of look-alike figure. All right. Now share your drawing with your partner. Share your drawing. One, thanks for playing along. I heard a few I'm sorries, which is I usually hear that. But if you can get in that mindset of it's okay to create and not judge yourself, I think that's one of the toughest ones. And draw the metaphor if you're in an organization or a company, you didn't raise your hand, you didn't shout out that idea because you were worried someone's going to shoot it down and say it's a stupid idea. You need to encourage that in yourself. So this was a nice little exercise to do that. And I'd love also to get people to draw. Quick drawings are, I think, one of the tenets of being a creative person. Not necessarily a beautiful drawing, just the back of the napkin sketch. It's all you need to do. And people go, Brendan, I can't draw. I'm a terrible drawer. I usually say, how many drawings have you done today? And they said, well, none. And I said, well, how many emails have you done? 150. So boost up that drawing. I'm way more excited when someone comes into my office with a quick drawing than an email. Like, woo. So think about that. So thanks for playing along. Save that sheet of paper. You're going to need it. So why does play matter? I think if you can incorporate it into your innovation process, it'll make it more enjoyable, and you'll be better at it. So I'm going to talk about 3 principles of play, how we incorporate those. Role play, encourage ridiculous, and think with your hands. Let's talk about role play. Remember back when we were kids, and you role played all the time, different careers, different situations. It was a lot of fun. You had all sorts of different experiences and good times doing this. Here are 2 kids role-playing shopping, having a great time. This is Christian. He's one of our designers. He was on a design team, and the team was redesigning the hospital emergency room check-in experience. So Christian role-played a patient. He made up some kind of fictitious illness, went into the emergency room with the camera strapped to the side of his head. No one said anything about the camera. If you've been in emergency rooms, you would understand that. He shot about 4 hours of footage that looked like this on the ceiling. He edited it down to 3 or 4 minutes. When the hospital management staff came to IDEO the next week, they showed them this footage highlighted down, and they had a much better sense of gaining some empathy for the patients. The team did, I thought, was kind of a high-risk experiment. They made the hospital management staff wait in the IDEO's lobby for about 45 minutes before the meeting happened to give them a little more sense of empathy. This is Alte. He's on a different design team that was redesigning the bandage replacement for major wounds. Really incredible, painful. So he went out and said, I'll do a little role playing. I'll role play and see how this works. But he couldn't create a major wound on himself, so he said, I'll get my chest hair waxed. Thought it was kind of fun at the time, you know, when you're talking about it over drinks perhaps the night before, and then probably not so fun during the time. But he had a much better empathy for that experience. He's role-playing. He can go back and then probably have some different insights he wouldn't have had before. The second thing I want to talk about is encourage ridiculous. And this is a study about brainstorms that I love. This was done by Deb Patnick, who started a firm called Jump. And it's a series of a bunch of brainstorms they looked at. Out of the 100 ideas, the first 60 ideas produced 5 that were actually new or different. The next 20 produced nothing but laughter. And ideas 80 to 100 produced another 10 that were amazing. Thankfully, we didn't give up when the well ran dry around idea number 60. This is when the going gets tough, the tough gets stupid. And this is all around this. To get brilliant ideas, you have to be close to the ridiculous ones. There's a ton of good ideas out there in the world, but those aren't gonna change it. So John Cassidy, a friend of mine who founded Klutz, we wanted to really push this thinking further, so we created a book with 162 either all-out ridiculous or perhaps brilliant ideas to really encourage this type of thinking in the world. And I'm going to show you a couple of these, and you can judge. So the question here is, how might we reinvent the common parking ticket? I don't know about you, but if I go out to my car and I get a parking ticket, it kind of bums you out for the morning or the afternoon. First thing you do is look at it and go, dang, that was 20 minutes. I could have moved that car earlier. So how could you make that experience a little more interesting? The answer, put the fun back in traffic citations. What if it was a scratch-off ticket? Either pay up, take a chance, double my fine, 0 fine, we owe you the fine. Which one will it be? You don't know. I would love to get a traffic ticket like this. Question, how might we get kids to help with the yard work? It's really tough to get kids outdoors. They're playing with the Wii, the video, it's like tough to get them out there. I had to mow the yard. So what if we built the lawnmower tricycle? Sure, it's got a few safety issues, but we could design around that, I'm sure. And I'll show one more, and you can, again, decide. For parents, how many parents in the room? How might we make car rides a little smoother for parents, thinking about kids in the car? The answer is the sibling blinders. Low-cost solution, keeps the kids looking outside instead of the DVD player. So out of those 3, maybe the parking ticket might borderline on brilliant if someone wanted to implement that with the economics. So the other 2, perhaps pushing it the other way. But I encourage yourself when you're doing your ideation sessions to push yourself further on that borderline. Think with your hands. I love this sort of process of design because it relates so much to play. Think about a child building blocks. I've seldom seen a child come to a big set of blocks with a series of plans on how they're going to make this building. It's all about the process. They love to build it up, knock it down, build it up, and they're learning each time. So I love this quote. The average first grader spends about 50% of their time engaged in construction play. And then I heard another quote that was, or statistic that was pretty interesting. The average 4-year-old laughs 40 times a day, and the average 40-year-old laughs 4 times a day. It's going the wrong way, right? So here's an IDEO team that was redesigning airline seating for the long haul experience for those who've been, you'd like to. And they're thinking with their hands. They didn't go redesign a whole bunch of seats. They grabbed a bunch of chairs and said, how would this experience feel with bunk bed seating? And they could do that in a matter of minutes, thinking with their hands. And you can tell, even you're not there in that room, but you can tell from the picture it feels kind of weird, doesn't it? Especially if that was your boss in one of the bunk beds. So they learned from that and then could go on to something else before committing a lot of resources. The next example I'm going to show is a quick video, so I'll explain it before it just starts playing. Is we designed an app for Sesame Street called Elmo's Monster Maker. Really successful app, won a bunch of awards. It's a ton of fun. The key moment in the app is when Elmo does some kind of groovy dance. So the team's trying to figure out, thinking with their hands, how can we make Elmo dance in an interesting way? So you'll see one of the guys on the team doing the dancing.
Cue music. So this is possible dance moves for Monster Maker. So music starts, and I'm the player, so I come in and I touch the monster, and he gives me a special dance move. I go and touch again, and he does a different one. And it can go for as long as I want, and he has a few signature moves. And when I've had enough and I'm done dancing, I push the back button, it pauses, and the music stops. Monster making.
Cool.
That's all I can. Come on, Sonic.
Whoa!
Get in there,
Some of you probably caught on early with Colita's hand going and the scales off, right? They took a big piece of cardboard, plotted out a giant iPhone, cut a hole in it, and then they could do the dance and videotape it, probably with an iPhone, send it back and forth, and get the correct Elmo dance move. If you have the app, that is not the Elmo dance move. Adam is not a dancer, as you could tell. The next is a really short video from one of my d.School classes at Stanford. The problem was all around how you can get people to conserve gas better. So they came up with a bunch of clever ideas around carpooling. This is around karaoke, carpooling themes. And it's a really...
Every night in my dreams, I see you, I feel you. That is how I know you. That's the most beautiful rendition I've ever heard.
So that's a really corny video, but they could shoot that in a matter of minutes, and you got a sense of the experience of what karaoke would be. And then they also shot a bunch of other themes around language immersion. They had one with around singles carpooling. So thinking about building a whole business on that versus they could show this and get some feedback in a hurry. But again, thinking with their hands quickly. So I'm going to have you guys do one more experiment or exercise today, thinking with your hands. You've probably all built a paper airplane in your life. And if I asked you to build a paper airplane now, you'd probably jump back to some kind of design you've used in the past to be successful. Because, hey, I know that works. I can build that in a hurry. What I'm going to ask you to do in the next 30 seconds is take that sheet of paper with the drawing on it and build a new type of paper airplane you never built before. Have fun with it. We're in a safe environment. You only have 30 seconds. Build a new type of paper airplane. Thinking with your hands. This is your prototype. Going to give you another 15 seconds. Now, I hear a lot of rustling, so there's still a lot of design happening, but there are always deadlines in design. So the deadline's coming up, and you have to present. So I think what we'll do is we'll all launch at the same time, but I think we should stand up and launch. And I would launch all forward. For the folks in the front, I wouldn't trust turning around, because your colleagues, who knows what type of design they've got. So on the count of 3, let's all launch forward and see if anyone can make it up to the podium. Would be really exciting. Ready? 3, 2, 1, launch. This was from the back row. This was awesome. Whoever. Well done. All right, have a seat. That's quite lovely. All right. So I talked about role-playing for us. It's one part of exploratory play, which is all around, for us, all around inspiration. Getting out in the world, gaining empathy, trying to gain insights. Encourage Ridiculous is all around creative play. And for us, it's all around ideation. Exploring different possibilities. Really going wide and going ridiculous. And then Think with Your Hands is all about constructive play, which is implementation, experiments, quick prototypes. We just built one here. And for us, those are 3 principles of design thinking that you can clearly see play is involved in. So I challenge you to make play part of your process. So go play. Thank you very much.